The Supreme Court is set to hear arguments tomorrow on the Arizona's controversial immigration law. That requires police to check the immigration status of anyone they suspect is in the country illegally if that person is stopped for any reason. Now, the court must decide if the state law oversteps federal power or if a state can enforce its own version of immigration policy. Judge Napolitano is here, Fox News senior judicial analyst. And there's a little asterisk with that part of the state's case, Judge, because the state is arguing they want to enforce their own version of immigration policy because they believe the federal government is not doing its job. Yes. How important is that asterisk to this case?
Well, the court has never reviewed that, and this is really the heart of Arizona's argument, and this is Arizona's conundrum. The conundrum is you, the federal government, are forcing us to make entitlements available to people who are here illegally. The federal government makes us spend this money, and the Supreme Court says that the federal government has the authority to make us spend this money. Health, safety, welfare, morality, and education. Arizona has to spend that money on people lawfully in Arizona and unlawfully in Arizona. Therefore, you, federal government, should enforce the border. You should enforce the federal law so that illegals aren't here. And if you won't do it, we'll do it for you.
Do they have a point?
That, in a nutshell, is Arizona's argument. Well, they have a political point. I think it is true that the federal government is not enforcing the statute.
But not a legal point.
Well, that's where the Supreme Court is going to get involved. Because in order for Arizona to enforce its own version of an immigration law, it will be taking some jurisdiction away from, stepping in the place of the federal government. How do we know that? Because the Supreme Court has consistently ruled that regulation of immigration is part of America's foreign policy. And that's why the states delegated this authority away to the federal government so that America could speak with one voice on immigration and foreign policy.
I only have a minute here, but let's say the Supreme Court rules in favor of the federal government and follows what you're saying has been the past precedent.
Right.
Can the Supreme Court send a message in some way to the federal government, even if they rule on the federal government's behalf, to tighten up immigration policy or issue a new mandate when it comes to immigration based on Arizona's argument?
2 points. The Supreme Court is unlikely to tell the federal government, tell the executive branch what laws to enforce and what laws not to enforce. The second is the relationship between this executive branch and this Supreme Court. One is unlikely to pay much attention to the other.
So watch the ruling.
Watch the ruling.
And watch the wording.
There you go.
Judge Napolitano.
Nicely put, Counselor.
Thank you very much. I'm learning each and every day with you on set. Judge, thank you.